everybody, my name is Chris and this will be my review for the Mech 2, The Trench. Now, in this film, we follow Jason Statham put on the path to fight against some megalodons, and only this time they're not necessarily like the big threat of the movie and will be pushed off to the side for an espionage story about another crew doing nefarious stuff in the trench. That's pretty much what I can say without giving any spoilers away. No spoilers here, but now I like shark movies, but let's be honest, like most of them are really bad, and except with Jaws. Jaws basically started the whole shark movies, and it's still the best shark movie ever made. But I always had like a guilty pleasure love for Deep Blue Sea. That's kind of my go-to shark movie before they just flat out and with the weird and ridiculous and were being made with pennies. So when the first movie came out and they kind of get rid of all the horror element and try to focus on the shark eating people and more like it's a blockbuster, it's a big budget action movie, and it was alright. There was an entertainment to be had with it, and who wasn't intrigued with the idea of Jason Statham punching a shark in the face? I think some people will want to do that now. So that brings us to the Mech 2, and I was surprised to find out like this is like an entire book of series. There's like 5 or 6 of these, and I think the Mech 2 gives you an idea of what the book series is kind of about, and how they luge the shark off to the side for human characters and not always being that interesting. I do want to say I'm not going to try and shame you or make you feel like if you walk into the Mech 2 and walk out happy with the movie. There's definitely some entertaining moments to be had in here. For one, we always watch Jason Statham's movies. There's also another fun characters to return in here. I was really getting a kick of Wu Jin. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. I actually end up liking him as much as Jason Statham. I thought he was the kind of fun to watch, and I'm glad they brought back a Paige Kennedy in there as the character of DJ, and he got a couple of laughs out of me. And I do also want to praise the visual effects of the sharks here, because I think they actually look pretty dang good. I always thought they are very heavy CGI shark movie just won't be that suspenseful, because your eyes can just obviously tell there's an effect, there's a graphic, it's not real. But you know what, there were moments in this movie where I was like, damn, and if I was in the ocean and that big shark was staring at me the way it is now, I would crap my pants. So there's so good moments here, and the close-up shots were of like the eyes and the gills, or just some of the scars that the sharks will have from previous battle. I'm like, this looks pretty great. But I think sadly that's where like all the positives end up here, because the rest of it kind of surprised me with the twists and turns, and was taking it, and it was more the way they went about the shark stuff, because I was like, as long as you give me a shark eating people, and then the type of suspense, even if it defies all logic, like Jason Statham on a jet ski with a couple of spears on his back just fighting these megalodons. Yeah, it's not realistic or believable, but that's the kind of the fun of watching a megalodon just eat some beach goers at a beach. But all that is really pushed off to the side, and the movie twists the just like the minimal threat of the film. I'm not kidding, there's about like 2 or 3, maybe even 4 other major villains before the shark actually become a threat in this movie. And I said threat loosely because they end up feeling more like an annoyance of like, oh, the sharks got out. Alright, we had to take care of these guys. And we also have like a couple other soldiers shooting us with bullets, so we might focus on that too. And I felt like it was just kind of the disappointment part of it, because it wasn't that interesting in this made up story of a facility wanting to like do research on megalodons. Not sure how they're making their money back, but there's like subplot on trying to train megalodons, and we're seeing how that goes in Hollywood, trying to train a prehistoric creature, and I'm sure that's going to end up great. And then you have this villain thrown in there and has like a history with Jason Statham's character, and they become like a large focus of the film and trying to find them. And I will give them props for like the underwater stuff that they keep me in suspense, seeing these people in a submarine going into the depths of the ocean and things cracking out, and we get ahead like an implosion in here. While it looks very gripping, if this film was rated R, but it was a very senseless implosion. Some of those underwater sequences had me kind of grip and interested, and I feel like it was like a fun little horror movie for a bit before we got to the big blockbuster action stuff. But it was just the, there's like, is this crew versus crew, and there's a more in here, and there's someone betraying her and someone feeding information. Now we have a couple of fight scenes with humans just going all at it, and the whole time you're like, when are we getting into the big shots? And it wasn't that interesting. And I'm sure there's like an interesting stuff in the book, because it can probably come off a lot more interesting in there, because in the book you have the freedom to flesh out those characters more, flesh out those backstory and those interconnections, and still make it work within the sharks attacking people. But I think in this movie there was already running over its 2-hour runtime. People are only here for one thing: to buy a ticket to see a mech eat people. And well, you did get that towards the end, and it's kind of fun. They throw in an octopus, a couple of prehistoric creatures in there. Yeah, larger and physical, completely out the window. But I think the annoying part to find about this is like, is this scene in here where like the mega are now like at the beach and eating people, and there's also like a giant octopus attacking people and bringing down a helicopter, and like, oh, let's focus on this. Oh, we're gonna watch Jason Statham have a gunfight with this guy, while literally like the mechs and all that is happening behind them. And I feel like that is the perfect explanation for the mech too. It's like there's this awesome crazy nonsense stuff we can give you, but you don't want to see like a guy try to shoot Jason Statham, and I don't think we ever have seen that before, right? So yeah, it didn't have like the amount of cheesy and dumb turn off my brain kind of fun like it did the first movie, when it gets to the actual sea creatures becoming the threat of the film, going after people, the suspenseful moments of like, oh, you're in the water, he's about to get you. Yeah, that well, that's when I was like set up in my seat. But then the other large percentage of it where we were just watching random scientists argue with each other, who's between us, who's doing this, and it wasn't just the interesting. And I'll say the in terms of each the first movie, it was very cheesy and off that, but it was a ton of fun. And the female lead in here, I think they had great chemistry with Jason Statham's character, and she's not in this film, and I think that that's a big loss for this film. And they try to focus more on the facilities and the human side of things instead of the actual sharks here. And when you have a movie like this, people want to see the sharks and the prehistoric creatures, of course, here, but like all that stuff is like secondary in the film, and like the human stuff is not that interesting. So it was a big disappointment for me, because I was expecting more on the line of the first film, and I think the first film did that better. It had the humans of that time, but the sharks fight and all that stuff was a lot of fun in the first movie, and there's some good moments in here. But overall, I think this is better to wait for rental or just to watch it on streaming where he's streaming. So that's my review for the Met 2. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, consider subscribing to the channel. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.